No, possibly the best scene in this film that I remember as I sit here was when they discovered the super person was in Russia, and then one of the Ezra asks, "How are we going to get to Russia?" And well, first of all, that's kind of confusing because surely the Flash can get to Russia no problem. He just rushes onto a plane. I don't know, but then the okay, we need some background actually. One of the worst parts of the film, the story, is they come to Batman for help because the older Ezra knows that there's going to be General Zod coming to destroy everything. So there's no Wonder Woman, no Cyborg. He doesn't know where Superman is or Aquaman. So he goes to Batman. Now, this is the Michael Keaton Batman, which he doesn't realize yet. But when he is discovered, first of all, there's no security in Gotham, in Wayne Manor. They just literally stroll in, walk around the whole house, go to the kitchen, and that's when Bruce Wayne finally decides to jump on the table and start kicking them, and the older Ezra kept on getting knocked out, and the younger Ezra has the powers, so he's, flashing about. But yeah, it's eventually Bruce Wayne jumps onto something and crashes, and then it's revealed who it is. Even though we all already knew who it was from the trailer. But he has really long hair. I think he had a beard, I'm not sure. No wonder the Mandela effect is so common. I can't even remember if he had a beard or not. I'm guessing he did, but I'm not sure. So he has really long hair because he's old and depressed, I guess. This was annoying to me because they basically did The Last Jedi again. They have old Luke with his long hair, which is fine to have long hair, but when Luke came back in that fight on what was that salt planet called? I can't remember. I feel it also began with an S, but I'm not sure. But he cut his hair. When he faces Kylo Ren, he has short hair at that point. But anyway, he says something about Gotham being super secure now, the safest place in the world for some reason. Was it because of mutants? I just don't remember. When I was watching it, I assumed he meant because there's all of these superheroes. But if that was the case, then where are all these superheroes when Zod comes and attacks? But yes, he says it's the safest place on Earth now. There's no need for me anymore as Batman, because Batman hasn't been seen for a couple of years, I think. So yes, after giving them some lecture about time being like spaghetti strands or something, they ask him for help, and he basically says no and just goes away. And then the Ezra knows where the entrance to the cave is from the outside, so they go to this well and jump in the well, and then they get into the Bat Cave and tinker with his computer and look at his cool car. But yeah, the whole thing was just super annoying that they did the thing again, just because he's old, and returning they have to do a Luke Skywalker again. Although, to be fair, it didn't last that long. It didn't last that long, but it felt unnecessary, it felt forced. It felt like there was no real reason for it, the only explanation was there's no need for Batman anymore. Okay, but I mean, Why does he have to grow his hair long and refuse to help people who are asking him for help right now? Can't he move to some other city that does have problems? Can't he move? He's rich enough to move to a different country, continent, if he needs to find, distressed and angry people around, maniacs around. So yes, I think he should have gone straight to Arkham and released everyone to help fight. I don't know, but still. So they're wondering how to get to Russia, and then comes in the Batwing, and that, to me, was the greatest scene in this film. That was a great shot and great music from what I remember, the original movies, obviously the Michael Keaton movies, and the way that it slowly comes in was real nostalgic and a real highlight of this film. It might even be the best part of any of these DC Universe films. And it's just a simple Batwing revealing itself and floating into the Batcave. And then Michael Keaton comes along with them to Russia. And there's all of these armed guards. And Ezra, the normal Ezra still doesn't have his powers. The younger Ezra still learning to use his powers. He gets shot in the leg at one point, and Batman has to sort of drag him outside because he's limping along. Batman has a bulletproof cape. I didn't remember this bulletproof cape thing, but he kept on putting his arms out to the side and the cape comes up and he turns his back to the shooters. He did this multiple times, and it's using it as a shield. But he got a cool fight scene, which was nice, but that's the fight scene that I said looked very fast, and it doesn't make any sense why he'd be faster now than he was back in the original films, especially since he's not been Batman for years apparently, and he's now decades older, but somehow he's faster and like a supersonic robot how he fights. So that makes no sense, but I actually would have preferred if it was literally more in the style of the original, but it was still nice. Just a bit, it's like I said with the earlier thing, it was less gritty. The effects in the movie with the Ben Affleck Batman driving in this chase scene, it just doesn't quite get there. It's just like there's something wrong with it. It's like it should look really good, and in some ways it does, but it's just not hitting the point that it should, because these fake looking things are distracting from it. But I should not complain too much, because regardless, this movie is 100 times better looking than Justice League, for instance. Apart from that final battle was just more of the same looking fake stuff. And that final battle was already criticized online. I saw people criticizing it, saying it looked like a video game. And I think the director or someone even came out and replied, saying it was supposed to look that way because it's from the Flash's viewpoint, because he's in a different timeline. But that does not make sense at all, because the entire movie is in a different timeline. Well, most of it. So why does this one wasteland battle sequence look so fake in comparison? So yes, that is... the soldiers were completely useless. We barely even saw the soldiers do anything, but we know they are there because there's explosions and stuff going on. And it is a battle scene, even though there's only about 3 Kryptons, I think, even doing anything. The bad guys. So, what did I think of this film overall? Was it better than I was expecting or worse? Well, I would say it's better than I was expecting, to be honest. But I don't even remember exactly what I was expecting. I think the entire movie is summed up by what I said before. It was good, kind of, but didn't quite hit overall the vision. I will say it's probably the most emotional movie simply because of the relationship between Ezra and his mother. That's what the whole movie was about. Well, it was about freeing his father and saving his mother. But he ended up only saving the father and not saving the mother because he did something with the camera. I think he moved the position of the camera somehow, and that meant that... no, I think he moved the can from the bottom shelf to the top shelf. The can that his dad goes to the store to get. I'm not sure why there's only one can, but apparently he moved the can to the top, and that meant that now he can be seen on the CCTV camera. Whereas earlier on it was said that the father could not be corroborated because he wasn't looking up at the camera. So he had no alibi that he did not kill the mother. So, I mean, surely the son is the alibi that the father left the house, but I think the son was in his room or somewhere. So, but it was emotional seeing the Flash say goodbye to his mother, knowing that this was the last time he was going to see her again, and she was going to die because he is choosing to reverse what he did and put the tomato back on the shelf. So, yes. By the way, it seemed like the reason they couldn't save Batman and Supergirl was because it was some kind of inevitable socket of time that you can't change conveniently. But logically, I don't think it makes any sense that they wouldn't be able to save Batman and Supergirl and stop Zod, even knowing everything that's going to happen. It just doesn't seem logical. But they chose this, you know, as a message for the movie. That was the theme of the movie, to let go, that there aren't solutions to everything. And you need to live your life today and not live in the past and regret. I feel a lot of films have this exact message recently. I don't know, it feels like every movie I watch has the same message at this point. But that was the angle that they went with, even though logically I don't see how they wouldn't have been able to stop Zod somehow. Even though, because they can go back in time as many times as they choose. But it showed the old Ezra, he had been stuck there for a long time and still not successful, so that's the angle they went with.